These sandwiches were more than just meals, they were a part of American culture, evoking memories of simpler times. But where did they go? Today, we'll explore 15 iconic sandwiches that have nearly disappeared from our menus and uncover the reasons behind their decline. Number 1, Fluffernutter. The Fluffernutter sandwich, a nostalgic combination of peanut butter and marshmallow fluff, was more than just a simple treat. It was a reflection of American ingenuity during tough economic times. Introduced in the early 20th century, the sandwich gained widespread popularity during the Great Depression. Marshmallow fluff, invented in 1917 by Archibald Query in Somerville, Massachusetts, was a non-perishable, affordable product that could be easily stored without refrigeration. This made it an ideal food item during a time when families needed to stretch their resources. Peanut butter, which had already become a staple in American households by the 1920s, complemented the fluff perfectly, creating a sweet and satisfying meal that was inexpensive to make. The Fluffernutter became especially beloved in New England, where it was embraced as a local delicacy. For many children growing up in the 1930s and beyond, this sandwich was a lunchbox favorite, representing comfort and a sense of normalcy in challenging times. Its popularity endured for decades, becoming a cultural icon in its own right. However, as nutritional awareness increased in the latter half of the 20th century, the Fluffernutter began to face criticism. Health experts pointed out the high sugar content and lack of nutritional value, leading schools and parents to seek healthier alternatives. Additionally, the rise of more varied and health-conscious snack options further contributed to the Fluffernutter's gradual decline. Despite this, the sandwich remains a cherished memory for many and continues to be a symbol of American resilience and creativity. Number 2, Peanut butter and bacon sandwich, 1940s. The peanut butter and bacon sandwich emerged during the 1940s, a period marked by the scarcity and rationing of many food items due to World War II. Both peanut butter and bacon were among the few protein-rich foods that were relatively accessible and not heavily rationed. Peanut butter, being shelf-stable and rich in fats and proteins, became a cornerstone of the American diet, particularly for children and soldiers. Bacon, though rationed, was still a favored food due to its long shelf life when cured properly, and its ability to add a savory depth to any dish. The combination of peanut butter and bacon was a result of wartime ingenuity. People were compelled to make do with what they had, leading to creative culinary inventions. This sandwich was particularly popular among soldiers who needed calorie-dense meals that could sustain them through long days. The contrast between the creamy, slightly sweet peanut butter and the salty, crispy bacon created a flavor profile that was both satisfying and energizing. However, after the war, as the American food supply returned to normal and a wider variety of foods became available, the peanut butter and bacon sandwich began to decline in popularity. The richness of the sandwich, which had once been seen as an asset during the lean war years, now seemed excessive in an era that was moving towards lighter and more balanced meals. Additionally, the post-war era saw a shift towards health-conscious eating, with an increasing focus on fresh fruits, vegetables, and lean meats. This change in dietary preferences contributed to the gradual disappearance of this once-beloved sandwich from American tables. Number 3, Olive and Cream Cheese Sandwich, 1930s. The olive and cream cheese sandwich, a culinary relic from the 1930s, is a product of its time, reflecting the economic realities and cultural practices of the era. During the Great Depression, Americans had to be resourceful in the kitchen, making use of affordable, accessible ingredients that could be stretched to feed families without sacrificing flavor. Cream cheese, already popular for its versatility and long shelf life, became a household staple. Olives, though somewhat more exotic, were inexpensive when bought in bulk, and their briny flavor added a touch of sophistication to an otherwise simple sandwich. This sandwich was particularly beloved in the Midwest, where it found a stronghold in community gatherings, ladies' luncheons, and social clubs. At a time when elaborate dishes were out of reach for many, the olive and cream cheese sandwich offered a sense of indulgence without the high cost. The sandwich was easy to prepare, a spread made by blending chopped green olives with cream cheese, sometimes with a touch of mayonnaise to add extra creaminess, was slathered between slices of soft white bread. The result was a sandwich that was both tangy and creamy, with a pleasing contrast between the salty olives and the rich cream cheese. The sandwich's popularity also tied into the social norms of the time. Luncheons and tea parties were common among women's social circles, and the olive and cream cheese sandwich was often served as part of a light, elegant meal. It was seen as a step above the more mundane sandwiches of the day, offering a hint of sophistication that was particularly valued during the austere years of the Depression. However, as American society moved into the post-war era, the olive and cream cheese sandwich began to lose its luster. The introduction of new and more diverse culinary options, influenced by increasing global travel and the rise of ethnic cuisines in the U.S., led to a decline in the sandwich's popularity. By the 1950s and 1960s, American palates were becoming more adventurous, seeking out bolder, more complex flavors. The simple combination of olives and cream cheese, which had once been seen as elegant, now seemed outdated and bland compared to the growing array of deli meats, cheeses, and international flavors available. Additionally, the sandwich's association with an older, more conservative era contributed to its decline. As the country moved away from the social norms of the early 20th century, including the formal luncheons and tea parties where the sandwich had thrived, it gradually disappeared from American tables. Today, the olive and cream cheese sandwich is largely a forgotten relic, remembered primarily by those who grew up with it or who enjoy exploring the culinary history of the United States. Number 4. Hot roast beef sandwich with gravy. 1940s. The hot roast beef sandwich with gravy was a quintessential American comfort food in the 1940s, deeply rooted in the culinary traditions of the Midwest. During this time, the sandwich became a staple in diners and family kitchens, representing the hearty meat and potatoes diet that defined much of mid-20th century American cuisine. The sandwich typically consisted of thinly sliced roast beef, often left over from a Sunday roast, served between slices of white bread, and generously covered in a rich, savory brown gravy. This dish was particularly popular in blue-collar communities where it provided a filling and affordable meal that could sustain workers through long, physically demanding days. The cultural significance of this sandwich lies in its embodiment of post-depression and wartime frugality. Families and diners found creative ways to make use of every part of a meal, and the hot roast beef sandwich was an excellent way to repurpose leftovers. The gravy, made from pan drippings and sometimes thickened with flour, added both flavor and moisture, making it a comforting and satisfying dish. However, the labor-intensive nature of preparing a good roast beef and gravy sandwich contributed to its decline. As the 1950s and 1960s ushered in the era of fast food, with its emphasis on speed, convenience, and uniformity, meals that required more time and effort fell out of favor. The simplicity and quick service offered by fast food chains like McDonald's and Burger King made it difficult for traditional diners to compete. Additionally, changing tastes and a move toward lighter, less heavy meals led to the sandwich being seen as outdated. Its rich, hearty nature, once its strength, became a liability in a world that increasingly valued quick, convenient, and less caloric options. Number 5. Scrambled egg and bacon sandwich, 1940s. The scrambled egg and bacon sandwich, a beloved breakfast staple during the 1940s, was particularly prevalent in rural America, where farm-fresh eggs and home-cured bacon were readily available. This sandwich provided a robust, protein-packed start to the day, especially for those working in physically demanding jobs. The simplicity of the sandwich, scrambled eggs and crispy bacon between slices of buttered toast, made it easy to prepare, even in kitchens with limited resources during wartime. Culturally, this sandwich became emblematic of the American breakfast. It wasn't just food, it was a ritual that brought families together at the start of the day. In farm households and small towns, breakfast was often the most substantial meal, designed to fuel long hours of labor. The scrambled egg and bacon sandwich fit this purpose perfectly, offering a mix of essential proteins and fats that kept people energized until the next meal. However, the sandwich began to decline as the mid-century approached. largely due to the rise of fast food chains like McDonald's, which introduced standardized, quickly replicable breakfast items. These new options were more convenient for a rapidly urbanizing population with less time to prepare meals at home. Additionally, as concerns about cholesterol and heart health grew in the latter half of the 20th century, the high-fat content of bacon led to a decrease in its popularity. As a result, the scrambled egg and bacon sandwich, once a cornerstone of the American breakfast, gradually faded from daily life, replaced by faster, more health-conscious options. Number 6. Cucumber and butter sandwich, 1950s. The cucumber and butter sandwich, a product of the 1950s, epitomized the simplicity and elegance of post-war American dining, particularly in the Northeast. This sandwich was especially popular among the upper classes, where it was often served during tea time or at garden parties. The combination of thinly sliced cucumbers and lightly buttered white bread created a delicate and refreshing bite, perfect for warm afternoons. The cucumber, with its crisp texture and subtle flavor, provided a cool contrast to the rich, creamy butter, making it a favorite in genteel social settings. The sandwich's appeal lay in its simplicity, reflecting the restrained, refined tastes of the time. It was not just a snack, but a symbol of sophistication, often accompanied by tea or lemonade at social gatherings. This sandwich was also popular among women, particularly those involved in organizing or attending luncheons and other daytime events, where heavy meals were not appropriate. However, as American culinary tastes evolved, the cucumber and butter sandwich began to seem outdated. The rise of more complex and globally influenced flavors in the 1960s and 1970s, as well as a growing preference for heartier and more substantial meals, led to its decline. The sandwich, once admired for its simplicity, was now seen as too plain and insubstantial. As Americans began to explore and embrace a broader array of ingredients and culinary traditions, the cucumber and butter sandwich faded into the background, becoming a nostalgic relic of a more reserved culinary era. Number 7. Tuna and sweet corn sandwich, 1950s. The tuna and sweet corn sandwich, which gained popularity in the 1950s, reflects a post-war era when canned goods became staples in American households. The combination of tuna, a relatively inexpensive and shelf-stable protein, with canned sweet corn, created a filling and nutritious meal that was easy to prepare. Mixed with mayonnaise, this sandwich was not only flavorful but also economical, making it an ideal choice for families looking to stretch their food budgets during a time of economic recovery. This sandwich found particular favor in working-class households, where it was a common sight in lunchboxes and at picnics. Its practicality extended beyond just the ingredients. Canned tuna and corn were widely available, required no refrigeration, and had a long shelf life, which made them perfect for busy families. The mild sweetness of the corn complemented the savory tuna, creating a combination that was both comforting and satisfying, yet light enough for a midday meal. However, as the 1960s and 1970s brought greater prosperity and an expanding palette for more sophisticated flavors, the tuna and sweet corn sandwich began to decline in popularity. The increased availability of fresh ingredients and the growing interest in more exotic and gourmet sandwich fillings made the simple, canned-based combination seem less appealing. Additionally, as consumers became more health-conscious, the reliance on mayonnaise-heavy mixtures and canned foods led to a shift towards fresher, less processed options. This transition, along with the rise of fast food and ready-made meals, contributed to the sandwich's gradual fade from the American culinary landscape. Number 8. Chipped beef on toast, 1950s. Chipped beef on toast, often referred to by its military nickname SOS, stuff on a shingle, became a widely recognized dish during World War II and maintained its popularity throughout the 1950s. This dish consisted of thinly sliced, dried, and salted beef served in a creamy white sauce over toasted bread. The beef, preserved by salting and drying, was a practical choice for military rations because it was non-perishable and could be easily reconstituted. The creamy white sauce, typically made from a roux of butter, flour, and milk, helped soften the beef and provided a rich, comforting flavor that masked the saltiness of the meat. The origins of SOS are closely tied to the U.S. military, where it was served frequently in mess halls due to its affordability, ease of preparation, and the ability to feed large numbers of soldiers with minimal resources. For many veterans returning home after the war, the dish was a nostalgic reminder of their service, leading to its adoption into civilian life. It became a popular breakfast or brunch option, particularly in working-class households, where it was valued for being filling and inexpensive. However, the dish began to decline in popularity as America's economic prosperity grew in the post-war years. With more disposable income, Americans began to explore a wider variety of foods, and the humble, utilitarian SOS began to seem outdated. Its strong association with institutional food, often perceived as bland or unappetizing, further contributed to its decline. As the culinary landscape in America evolved, with a growing emphasis on fresh ingredients and diverse flavors, SOS was increasingly viewed as a poor man's meal, leading to its gradual disappearance from mainstream menus. Number 9. Fried bologna sandwich, 1950s. The fried bologna sandwich became a cultural touchstone in the 1950s, especially in regions like the South and Midwest, where economic frugality was a way of life. Bologna itself, a type of inexpensive processed meat, was a descendant of the Italian mortadella, though significantly altered for American tastes. Unlike mortadella, which is speckled with fat and spices, American bologna was homogenized into a smooth, mild sausage, making it palatable to a wide audience, including children. The frying of bologna transformed this humble meat into something more indulgent. Frying caramelized the sugars in the meat, giving it a slightly sweet, charred flavor, while also enhancing its savory notes. This process made the sandwich more than just a meal. It became a comfort food, evocative of home-cooked lunches and simple, satisfying dinners. In many households, it wasn't just a quick fix. It was a beloved recipe passed down through generations, often customized with local flavors or additional toppings. What truly set the fried bologna sandwich apart was its versatility and accessibility. During the 1950s, a time when convenience foods were beginning to gain popularity, this sandwich offered both ease and a homemade touch. It was often paired with chips or a pickle, making it a complete meal that required minimal preparation but delivered maximum satisfaction. Despite its humble ingredients, the fried bologna sandwich was celebrated for its flavor, often becoming a preferred alternative to more labor-intensive dishes. However, the industrialization of food and the rise of television dinners in the 1960s started to push simpler, homemade meals like the fried bologna sandwich out of the spotlight. As America's culinary landscape evolved, with a greater focus on fresh, organic ingredients, the highly processed nature of bologna came under scrutiny. Additionally, the sandwich's association with working-class kitchens made it less appealing as America's middle class grew and aspired to more sophisticated eating habits. This shift in culinary values, combined with increasing health consciousness, contributed to the sandwich's gradual decline in popularity. Number 10. Egg salad sandwich, 1950s. The egg salad sandwich, a staple of 1950s American lunch culture, was deeply tied to the post-war era's focus on practicality and economy in home cooking. The sandwich was typically made with chopped hard-boiled eggs mixed with mayonnaise, salt, pepper, and sometimes a hint of mustard or relish for added flavor. It was an ideal choice for families seeking a nutritious, protein-rich meal that was easy to prepare using readily available ingredients. This sandwich became emblematic of the domesticity of the time, often appearing in school lunches, at picnics, and in family gatherings. It was particularly favored by housewives who were managing households on a budget, as eggs were both inexpensive and abundant. The simplicity of the recipe also meant that it could be prepared quickly, making it a convenient option for busy mothers. The creamy texture of the egg salad, combined with the softness of the bread, made it a comfort food that appealed to both adults and children. However, as American cuisine evolved, the egg salad sandwich began to fall out of favor. the rise of fast food chains and the increasing availability of pre-packaged meals introduced Americans to a wider variety of sandwich options that were more complex and flavorful. Additionally, changing dietary trends in the 1970s and 1980s, which emphasized lean proteins and fresh vegetables, made the mayonnaise-heavy egg salad seem outdated and unhealthy. The simplicity that once made the egg salad sandwich popular now contributed to its decline, as consumers sought more diverse and adventurous flavors in their meals. Number 11. Club sandwich, 1960s. The club sandwich, a classic staple of American casual dining, solidified its popularity in the 1960s as an iconic meal served in diners, hotel restaurants, and country clubs across the nation. Originating in the late 19th century, the sandwich's typical construction included layers of turkey or chicken, crispy bacon, fresh lettuce, juicy tomato, and mayonnaise, all neatly stacked between 3 slices of toasted white bread. The use of multiple layers and ingredients made it visually striking and satisfying, offering a hearty meal that was both filling and balanced in flavors. By the 1960s, the club sandwich had become a symbol of leisurely dining, embodying the laid-back elegance of the American middle class. It was particularly favored for lunch or light dinner, often accompanied by a side of fries or a pickle. The sandwich's association with country clubs and upscale diners lent it an air of sophistication, yet it remained approachable and comforting, appealing to a wide audience. Despite its initial widespread appeal, the decline of the club sandwich began in the latter part of the 20th century. The sandwich became increasingly associated with old-fashioned diner fare, particularly as American tastes evolved to embrace more diverse and globally inspired cuisine. The labor-intensive preparation of a proper club sandwich, requiring careful layering and multiple ingredients, also made it less viable in the fast-paced environment of modern restaurants, where efficiency often trumps tradition. Additionally, the sandwich's reliance on relatively basic ingredients made it less attractive in an era that began to prioritize exotic flavors and innovative culinary experiences. As a result, while the club sandwich still holds a place in the culinary landscape, it is no longer the ubiquitous choice it once was, often relegated to nostalgic menus rather than being a staple of contemporary dining. Number 12. Liverwurst sandwich, 1960s. The liverwurst sandwich was deeply rooted in the culinary traditions of German-American communities, especially during the 1960s. Liverwurst, a type of sausage made primarily from pork liver, was a common filling for sandwiches, especially when served on dense, flavorful breads like rye or pumpernickel. This combination was not only a practical meal option but also a way for German immigrants to maintain a connection to their cultural heritage. The rich, savory taste of liverwurst, often paired with sharp mustard and sometimes onions or pickles, created a hearty sandwich that was both satisfying and nutritious. Liverwurst was highly valued for its nutritional benefits, being rich in iron, vitamin A, and other essential nutrients, which made it particularly appealing during a time when many American families were concerned with providing balanced meals. The sandwich was especially popular in regions with strong German influences, such as Pennsylvania and the Midwest, where it was often included in lunchboxes or served as a quick and filling meal. The decline of the liverwurst sandwich began as American eating habits started to shift in the latter half of the 20th century. The rise of health consciousness, particularly regarding the risks associated with high cholesterol foods, led to a decrease in the consumption of organ meats like liverwurst. Additionally, as the American palate began to favor lighter, more diverse flavors, traditional dishes like the liverwurst sandwich were gradually replaced by foods that were perceived as more modern and healthier. Younger generations, less connected to the European immigrant experience, found the strong, distinctive taste of liverwurst less appealing, gravitating instead towards more familiar deli meats like turkey and ham. The sandwich, once a staple in many American households, became increasingly rare as new food trends emerged, and as the culinary landscape of America continued to evolve. Despite its decline, the liverwurst sandwich remains a nostalgic dish for many, especially within communities that continue to value traditional German foods. Number 13. Reuben sandwich, 1960s. The Reuben sandwich, which rose to prominence in the 1960s, is a quintessential example of American deli cuisine, reflecting the rich culinary heritage brought by Eastern European Jewish immigrants. Traditionally made with corned beef, Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, and Russian dressing, all nestled between slices of rye bread, the Reuben is both hearty and flavorful. The sandwich is believed to have originated in the early 20th century, with competing stories pointing to either New York City or Omaha, Nebraska as its birthplace. By the 1960s, the Reuben had become a beloved staple in Jewish delis across the United States. The sandwich's cultural impact is significant. It embodies the melding of American and European food traditions, particularly within Jewish communities. The combination of ingredients is a testament to the resourcefulness of Jewish American cuisine, which often utilized preserved meats like corned beef and fermented vegetables like sauerkraut, foods that were both practical and deeply rooted in European culinary practices. The Reuben's popularity spread beyond the Jewish community, becoming a favorite among those who frequented delis for a robust, satisfying meal. However, the Reuben's decline in popularity can be attributed to several factors. The rich, fatty ingredients that made the sandwich so indulgent also became its downfall as American dietary habits shifted towards healthier eating. In the latter half of the 20th century, concerns over fat, sodium, and cholesterol led many consumers to avoid foods like corned beef and heavy dressings. Additionally, the decline of traditional Jewish delis, particularly in urban centers, has contributed to the sandwich's reduced availability. Many of these delis, once community institutions, have closed due to rising rents, changing demographics, and competition from chain restaurants. As a result, while the Reuben remains a beloved classic, it is now more of a specialty item rather than the widespread deli staple it once was. Number 14. Pimiento cheese sandwich, 1960s. The pimiento cheese sandwich, often called the caviar of the South, is a Southern culinary tradition that took on special significance during the 1960s. Pimiento cheese, the key ingredient, is a spread made from shredded cheddar cheese, mayonnaise, and diced pimientos, sweet red peppers. This spread was known for its vibrant orange color and creamy, tangy flavor, which made it a versatile addition to sandwiches, crackers, and various appetizers. The sandwich became an essential part of Southern culture, symbolizing hospitality and comfort food. It was a staple at picnics, church gatherings, and family reunions, often served with a glass of sweet tea. The simplicity of the ingredients made it accessible to a wide range of people, and its rich, creamy texture provided a sense of indulgence. In the 1960s, pimiento cheese sandwiches were especially popular in school lunches, as they were easy to prepare and beloved by children and adults alike. However, as American palates evolved, the pimiento cheese sandwich began to decline in popularity. The rise of gourmet and more diverse sandwich spreads introduced new flavors and textures that began to overshadow this traditional Southern favorite. Additionally, the increasing focus on health and nutrition in the late 20th century led many to shy away from high-fat foods like pimiento cheese, which is rich in mayonnaise and cheese. The sandwich, once a symbol of Southern charm and simplicity, began to be viewed as old-fashioned and less desirable in a diet-conscious society. Despite its decline, the pimiento cheese sandwich has experienced a resurgence in recent years, with chefs and home cooks alike rediscovering and reinventing this classic Southern dish. Today, it is often found in gourmet variations, incorporating different types of cheeses, spices, and even smoked pimientos, reflecting a blend of tradition and modern culinary trends. Number 15. Ham salad sandwich, 1970s. The ham salad sandwich, a notable fixture in American lunch culture during the 1970s, had its roots in both practicality and tradition. This sandwich was particularly favored in the South and Midwest, where it often appeared at potlucks, church gatherings, and family picnics. The mixture of minced or ground ham with mayonnaise, sometimes enhanced with pickles, relish, or mustard, provided a savory and tangy flavor that was both satisfying and economical. The popularity of the ham salad sandwich in the 1970s can be attributed to several factors. First, it was a practical way to use leftover ham, especially after large meals such as holiday dinners. Families could easily stretch the ham over several meals by transforming it into a spreadable salad that could be used in sandwiches or as a dip. This was particularly important during a time when frugality was still a significant concern for many American households. Additionally, the sandwich was versatile. It could be easily customized with different additions like hard-boiled eggs, celery, or onions, depending on what was available. However, by the late 20th century, the ham salad sandwich began to decline in popularity. The advent of more sophisticated and diverse culinary options, especially in urban areas, contributed to this decline. The 1980s and 1990s saw a rise in gourmet sandwich shops and deli counters offering a variety of international flavors and fresh ingredients, which made traditional, processed options like ham salad seem less appealing. Furthermore, growing health concerns about processed meats became a significant factor in the sandwich's decline. Studies linking processed meats to various health issues, including heart disease and cancer, led consumers to seek out fresher, less processed alternatives. The ham salad sandwich, which was once a symbol of practicality and resourcefulness, started to be viewed as outdated and unhealthy, particularly as awareness of nutrition and food quality grew. As a result, the ham salad sandwich transitioned from a common lunchbox staple to a nostalgic item, primarily enjoyed by those who grew up with it or who continue to embrace traditional Southern and Midwestern cuisine. It still appears at some family gatherings and in regional delis, but it has largely been overshadowed by modern, health-conscious trends.